The space around the Carthan sector looked like a storm made of metal and fire. Thousands of ships filled the darkness, shooting bright beams of energy at each other. The war between the Velcrin Dominion and the Thoral Collective had been going on for 3 long years. Nobody remembered anymore why it started. Both sides just knew they had to win. Captain Daewon stood on the bridge of the Eternal Horizon and watched the battle through the main screen. His ship had just come out of hyperspace at the edge of the fighting. He was a calm man in his late 40s, with gray hair at his temples and steady hands. He had seen many things in his life, but this battle was something else. So many ships, so much destruction. "Captain, both fleets have detected us," said Lieutenant Hana from her station. She was the tactical officer, young and sharp-minded. Her fingers moved quickly over her controls. "They're sending us warnings, very angry warnings." Daewon nodded slowly. He had expected this. "What are they saying?" Hana listened to her earpiece. "The Velcrin are telling us to leave immediately or be destroyed. The Thoral are saying the same thing. Both of them say we have 60 seconds to turn around." The bridge crew looked nervous. Engineer Tae-sung stepped forward from the back of the bridge. He was a practical man who usually stayed in the engine room, but he wanted to see this moment. "Captain, are you sure about this plan? We're one ship against thousands." "I'm sure," Daewon said quietly. He turned to the communications officer. "Officer Yuna, open a channel to both fleets, all frequencies." Yuna's hands hesitated over her controls. She was good at her job, but this was crazy. "Both fleets, sir? At the same time?" "Yes, both." She pressed the buttons. A light turned green on her panel. "Channel open, Captain." Daewon cleared his throat. His voice needed to sound calm and confident. "This is Captain Daewon of the Earthship Eternal Horizon. We have received your warnings. We will not be leaving. We have a proposal that will benefit both the Velcrin Dominion and the Thoral Collective. We ask that you give us 5 minutes of your time." The bridge went silent. Everyone waited. Hana checked her screens. "Captain, the Velcrin flagship is charging weapons. So is the Thoral command ship. They're not happy." "Hold position," Daewon said. "Do not power up our weapons. Keep everything peaceful." Tae-sung looked worried. "If they fire, Captain, we won't survive the first shot." "I know." More warnings came through. This time they were angrier. The Velcrin admiral called humans insects. The Thoral warlord said Earth was nothing, just a small planet nobody cared about. Both said the Eternal Horizon had 30 seconds to leave or die. The crew watched the countdown. 20 seconds, 15 seconds, 10 seconds. Daewon stood perfectly still. He looked at the screen showing the 2 massive fleets. Ships everywhere, all pointing weapons at each other. And now many of them were pointing weapons at his ship too. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. Suddenly the shooting stopped. Hana looked at her screen in surprise. "Captain, both fleets have ceased fire. They're still targeting us, but they stopped shooting at each other." "Good," Daewon said. A small smile appeared on his face. "They're curious." It was true. The Velcrin and Thoral had been fighting for so long that anything different caught their attention. A small Earthship, alone and unarmed, sitting right between their fleets and refusing to leave. It was strange. It was stupid. It was interesting. A message came through. Yuna looked surprised. "Captain, we're getting a response. From the Velcrin Admiral. He says we have 3 minutes to explain ourselves before he destroys us." Another message arrived. "The Thoral warlord says the same thing. 3 minutes. Then we better not waste time." Daewon sat down in his captain's chair. "Yuna, prepare the first data package. Tae-sung, make sure our transmission is strong enough to reach every ship in both fleets." "Every ship, sir?" Tae-sung asked. "Every single one. I want every captain, every crew member, every soldier to see what we're about to show them." The engineer ran back to his station and started working. "It will take a lot of power, but I can do it." Lieutenant Hana stepped closer to the captain's chair. She spoke quietly so only he could hear. "Sir, what if this doesn't work?" What if they just shoot us anyway? Daewon looked at her. His eyes were kind but serious. Then Earth will send another ship, and another, and another, until someone listens. That's what makes us human, Lieutenant. We don't give up on peace. Hana wanted to argue, but she saw something in the captain's face that stopped her. He really believed this would work. His confidence was strange and powerful. 2 minutes left, Yuna announced. Is the data package ready? Daewon asked. Yes, sir. Ready to transmit? Then send it. To everyone. Yuna pressed a button. Information began flooding out from the eternal horizon to every ship in the sector. The data moved through space at the speed of light, reaching the Velkrin ships, the Thorol ships, spreading like water. On the bridge, Daewon stood up again. He walked to the main screen and looked out at the battlefield. Somewhere out there, alien commanders were opening the files Earth had sent. They were starting to read the information. Soon, very soon, they would understand. What did we send them? Asked a young crew member from the navigation station. Daewon smiled. The truth. We sent them the truth about their war, about each other, and about what will happen if they keep fighting. Humans are good at many things, but we're especially good at learning from mistakes. Our mistakes and the mistakes of others. The 3 minutes were almost up. The bridge crew waited. The eternal horizon sat alone in space between two massive war fleets. A tiny ship with no weapons powered up, no shields at maximum, nothing but data and hope. Incoming transmission, Yuna said suddenly. From both flagships. They want to talk, Captain. They want to talk right now. Daewon returned to his chair. He sat down carefully and straightened his uniform. Then let's talk. Open the channel. And everyone remember, we're not here to win a fight. We're here to stop one. The screen flickered. 2 alien faces appeared, one on each side. Admiral Kreth of the Velkrin looked angry. Warlord Thesix of the Thorol looked suspicious. Both stared at the human captain. Start explaining, Admiral Kreth growled. Before I change my mind about letting you live. Captain Daewon looked at the 2 alien commanders on his screen. Admiral Kreth had dark blue skin and 4 arms. His face looked like it was carved from stone. Warlord Thesix had scales that changed colors and sharp teeth. Both of them looked like they wanted to shoot the human ship immediately. Thank you for listening, Daewon said calmly. I know you're both busy with your war, but I promise what we have to show you is worth your time. You have 2 minutes, Admiral Kreth said. Then I resumed firing. On you and on them. He pointed one of his 4 arms toward the Thorol fleet. 2 minutes is enough. Daewon nodded to Officer Yuna. Send package 2. More data flooded out from the eternal horizon. This time it was different. This time it was detailed tactical information. Maps of fleet positions, weaknesses in ship formations, supply line routes, communication patterns, everything. On the Velkrin flagship, Admiral Kreth's eyes went wide. He was looking at complete information about the Thorol fleet. Things he had been trying to learn for 3 years. Ship numbers, weapon capabilities, weak points in their armor. It was all there, perfectly organized and incredibly accurate. On the Thorol command ship, Warlord Thesix was seeing the same thing about the Velkrin fleet. His scales turned bright red, which meant he was shocked. The data showed him exactly where the Velkrin ships were getting their supplies, where their commanders liked to position their forces, what strategies they used most often. Where did you get this information? Admiral Kreth demanded. His voice was loud and angry. This is impossible. Nobody could gather this much data. Daewon remained calm. We got it by watching. For 6 months, the eternal horizon has been in this system. We stayed at the outer edge where nobody noticed us. We watched every battle. We recorded every movement. We analyzed everything with Earth's sensor technology. You spied on us, Warlord Thesix said. His scales were now dark purple with anger. We observed, Daewon corrected. There's a difference. We didn't help either side. We didn't give information to anyone. We just watched and learned. That's what humans do. We watch. We learn. We understand. Lieutenant Hana stood at her station watching the alien commanders carefully. She could see they were angry, but they were also interested. The data was too good to ignore. Why show us this now? Admiral Kreth asked. Why give both of us the same information? That helps neither side. Exactly, Day One said. That's the point. The information helps neither side because you're evenly matched. Look at the analysis we sent. Really look at it. Both commanders went quiet. They were reading through the data more carefully. The human analysis showed something terrible. Both fleets were equal in strength. Both had the same number of ships, similar weapons, matching strategies. The war was balanced perfectly. This can't be right, Warlord Thesic said, but his voice was uncertain. Engineer Tae Sung stepped forward on the human bridge. Captain, should I send the projections? Yes, send them now. New data appeared on every screen in both fleets. Mathematical projections. Battle simulations. All of them showed the same thing. If the fighting continued, both sides would destroy each other. The numbers were clear. In 2 days of continued battle, 73% of both fleets would be gone, destroyed, thousands of ships, millions of lives. The bridge of the eternal horizon was silent. Everyone watched the alien commanders read the projections. These numbers, Admiral Kreth said slowly. They're accurate? Yes, Day One replied. Our computers ran the simulation 10,000 times. Every time the result was the same. You're going to destroy each other, not one side winning, both sides losing. Warlord Thesic slammed his fist on something off-screen. Then we fight harder. We fight until we win. You can't win, Day One said quietly. That's what the math shows. You're too evenly matched. The only winner in this war is death. Officer Yuna received a message. She looked surprised. Captain, we're getting communications from other ships in both fleets. Junior officers, crew members. They're all reading our data. Some of them are sending messages to their commanders. This was part of Day One's plan. He hadn't just sent the information to the flagships. He had sent it to every ship. Now thousands of crew members were seeing the truth. They were seeing that their war was pointless. That they were going to die for nothing. You had no right, Admiral Kreth roared. No right to send this to my entire fleet. We had every right, Day One said, his voice still calm. Because we're trying to save lives. Your lives. Their lives. He pointed at both alien commanders. You can be angry at us. That's fine. But can you honestly say the data is wrong? The question hung in the air. Both commanders looked at their own screens, reading the projections again. The math was clear. The analysis was solid. Everything the humans said was true. There's more, Day One continued. We know what you're fighting over. The Carthan Nebula. It has exotic matter that both your empires need. Rare elements for your technology, for your ships, for your economies. That's our business, Warlord Thesic said. It was your business. Now it's everybody's problem. Because while you two fight over the nebula, neither of you can use it. The battle zone is too dangerous for mining operations. So you're fighting over something neither of you can have. Does that make sense? On the Velkrin flagship, a junior officer approached Admiral Kreth. The Admiral listened to something, then his face darkened even more. On the Thoral command ship, something similar was happening. Junior officers were talking to Warlord Thesic. They were probably saying the same things. The crew wants to know why we're fighting. The crew wants to know if this is worth dying for. Lieutenant Hana watched her tactical display. Captain, some ships in both fleets are powering down weapons. Not many, but some. Day One nodded. It's starting. What's starting? Hana asked. People thinking for themselves instead of just following orders. Admiral Kreth spoke again. Even if everything you say is true, what do you expect us to do? Just stop fighting? Make peace? We've been enemies for decades. My people and his people hate each other. Your people don't hate each other, Day One said. Your governments hate each other. There's a difference. The soldiers, the crew members, the regular people, they just want to go home alive. We've been reading your communications for 6 months. We know what your people say when their commanders aren't listening. They're tired. They want the war to end. Lies, Warlord Thesic said, but he didn't sound sure. Read your own intercepts. We included them in the data package. Messages from ship to ship. Personal communications. Your people are exhausted. Both of your peoples are exhausted. Tae Sung spoke quietly to the captain. Sir, we're using a lot of power for these transmissions. We can keep this up for another hour, maybe 2. That's enough time, Day One said. On the main screen, both alien commanders looked troubled. They were reading more data, talking to their officers, thinking hard. The bridge of the eternal horizon waited. Finally, Admiral Kreth spoke. You come here into our war and tell us we're fools. You show us data that makes us look weak. You spread information to our crews without permission. And now you expect us to just stop fighting? No, Day One said. I expect you to think. I expect you to look at the truth and make the smart choice. That's all we're asking. And what do you get from this? Warlord Thesix asked. Why does Earth care about our war? Day One smiled sadly. Because we've been where you are. We've fought stupid wars. We've almost destroyed ourselves. Multiple times. And we learned something important. War should be the last choice, not the first. Violence should be the final option, not the easy one. We're here because maybe, just maybe, we can help you avoid the mistakes we made. The conversation paused. Everyone waited to see what would happen next. The war hung in balance and a single human ship held the scales. The silence lasted for almost a minute. On the bridge of the eternal horizon, nobody moved. Captain Day One stood perfectly still, watching the two alien commanders think. This was the critical moment. Everything depended on what happened next. Admiral Kreth broke the silence first. Your data is interesting, human. But data doesn't stop wars. Pride stops wars. Honor stops wars. One side must admit defeat. No, Day One said simply. One side must admit truth. There's a difference. Before either alien could respond, Day One nodded to Science Officer Ji Woo. She was a quiet woman who usually stayed in the background, studying alien cultures and psychology. Now it was her time to help. Send package 3, Day One ordered. Ji Woo's fingers moved across her controls. Sending now, Captain. New information flooded across all the ships. This time it wasn't tactical data or battle projections. This time it was history. Earth's history. The screens in both fleets began showing images from Earth's past. Old photographs and videos. Cities burning, bombs falling, mushroom clouds rising into the sky. Millions of people dying in trenches and camps and streets. The worst moments of human history all laid out for the aliens to see. What is this? Warlord Thesix asked. His scales had turned a confused gray color. This is us, Day One said quietly. This is what humans did to each other. For thousands of years we fought. We killed, we destroyed. These images are from our world wars. Our nuclear standoffs, our genocides. We almost made ourselves extinct at least a dozen times. The images kept coming. Ancient battles with swords and spears. Modern warfare with tanks and aircraft. Nuclear explosions that could destroy entire cities in seconds. Chemical weapons. Biological weapons. Every terrible thing humans had ever invented to kill each other. On the Velcrin flagship, junior officers watched in horror. Some of them looked away. On the Thoral command ship, crew members were silent. They had thought their war was brutal, but this was something else. This was a species trying to destroy itself completely. Lieutenant Hana watched her captain. She had never seen these images all together like this. It was overwhelming. Sir, is it wise to show them how violent we were? Were? Day One smiled sadly. Some people say we still are. But yes, it's wise, because they need to understand that we're not here to judge them. We're here because we've been exactly where they are now. Admiral Kreth's voice came through quieter than before. Your species survived this? Barely, Day One admitted. Many times we came close to ending everything. But each time enough people chose to stop. Enough people chose to think instead of fight. Enough people chose the future over the past. The images changed. Now they showed Earth recovering. Cities being rebuilt, former enemies working together, peace treaties being signed, humans from different nations, different cultures, different backgrounds, all cooperating. How? Warlord Thesix asked. How did you move past such hatred? Science Officer Ji Woo spoke up. It was rare for her to talk during these moments, but she had studied this question for years. We learned that hatred is easy. Hatred doesn't take effort, but peace, cooperation, understanding, those things are hard. They take work. They take courage. We decided to do the hard thing. More data came through. This time it was analysis of the Carthan Nebula, the thing both fleets were fighting over. The humans had studied it carefully during their 6 months of observation. The nebula, Day One said, has enough exotic matter for both your empires. We've run the calculations. If you work together, if you share the resources, both of you get more than if one side controlled it alone. The mining would be more efficient. The refining would be faster. The distribution would be easier. On his screen, he could see both commanders reading the new data. The math was clear. Cooperation wasn't just the moral choice. It was the smart choice. It was the profitable choice. You're saying we fought for 3 years over something we could share? Admiral Kreth's voice was strained. Yes, Day One said gently. But that's what war does. It makes people forget that some things aren't worth dying for. Some things are worth living for instead. A new voice came through the communications. Admiral Kreth, this is Sub-Commander Vex. May I speak? Admiral Kreth looked annoyed but nodded. Speak. A new alien face appeared on a smaller screen. Sub-Commander Vex was younger than the Admiral, with lighter blue skin. Sir, I've reviewed all the human data. Their calculations are correct. If we continue fighting, we lose most of our fleet. If we work with the Thorol, we gain access to resources we need. The choice is logical. This isn't about logic, Admiral Kreth shouted. This is about honor, about strength. With respect, sir, Vex said carefully. Is it honorable to lead our people to unnecessary death? Is it strong to ignore the truth? Admiral Kreth looked like he wanted to argue, but he stopped. The sub-commander had a point. On the Thorol side, something similar was happening. Warlord Thesix, this is Commander Ralith. A female Thorol appeared on screen. Her scales were a calm green. I've been your second-in-command for 6 years. I've never questioned your orders, but I'm questioning them now. These humans are offering us a way to end this war with dignity. Shouldn't we at least consider it? Considering it makes us look weak, Thesix growled. Does it? Commander Ralith asked. Or does it make us look wise? Captain Daywan watched these exchanges carefully. This was exactly what he had hoped for. He wasn't trying to convince the top commanders alone. He was giving their junior officers, their trusted advisors, the information they needed to speak up. Sometimes the best way to change a leader's mind was to let their own people do it. Engineer Taesung approached the captain's chair. Sir, we're at 50% power. These transmissions are draining our systems. Can we keep going? Yes, but not for much longer. Then we move to the next phase. Daywan looked at his crew. Everyone ready? Lieutenant Hana checked her station. Ready, sir. Officer Yuna nodded. Ready, Captain. Science Officer Jiwoo took a deep breath. Ready? Daywan turned back to the main screen. Admiral Kreth, Warlord Thesix, we've shown you the data. We've shown you our history. We've given you information and options, but we understand that words and numbers aren't always enough. So now we're going to show you something else, something that will help you make your decision. What else could you possibly show us? Admiral Kreth asked. The future, Daywan said simply. Not one possible future. The actual future. What will happen if you keep fighting? You can't know the future, Warlord Thesix said. Can't we? Daywan smiled slightly. We know the present perfectly. We've studied your fleets, your tactics, your weapons, your formations. We have 6 months of detailed observations. We have computer systems that can calculate probability better than anything in your fleets. So yes, we can know the future, because your future is just math. He nodded to Taesung. Do it. The engineer pressed several buttons. Deep in the eternal horizon, systems that had been warming up for the past hour suddenly activated. Power surged through cables and conduits. The ship's energy reserves dropped rapidly. Holographic projection system online, Taesung announced. Activating now. In the space between the 3 fleets, something began to appear. Lights formed in the darkness. Colors swirled and took shape. Images appeared huge and clear, visible to every ship in the sector. What is that? Multiple voices asked across all channels. That, Captain Daywan said quietly, is tomorrow. That's the next 48 hours of your war. Watch carefully, because this is what's going to happen if you don't stop. The holographic display began to move. Ships appeared in the projection, perfect copies of the real vessels around them. The simulation started to play, and everyone watched as their future unfolded before them moment by terrible moment. It was time for the war to end, one way or another. The holographic projection filled the space between the fleets with light and movement. Every crew member in every ship could see it clearly. The simulation showed the battlefield exactly as it was right now, then began moving forward in time. The first simulated hour showed both fleets resuming their attack. Ships moved into position. Weapons fired. The projection was incredibly detailed. Individual vessels were shown getting hit, their shields failing, their hulls breaking apart. Small labels appeared next to each destroyed ship, showing its name and crew count. On the bridge of the eternal horizon, Captain Day-Wan watched the alien commanders' faces. Admiral Kreth looked angry. Warlord Thesix looked tense. But they were watching. Everyone was watching. "This is a trick," Admiral Kreth said, but his voice was uncertain. "Computer predictions mean nothing." "Watch your flagship," Day-Wan said quietly. In the projection, the simulation reached hour 3. A group of Thoral ships surrounded the Velkrin flagship. They fired from multiple directions. The flagship's shields collapsed. Weapons tore through its armor. The massive ship began to break apart. Admiral Kreth stood up from his command chair. His forearms were rigid. "No, that wouldn't happen. My flagship is too well defended." "Your flagship is here." Day-One pointed at the real vessel on his tactical display. "Surrounded by these Thoral ships. Your shields are at 70% power because of earlier fighting. Your defensive positions have these gaps." He highlighted specific areas. "The Thoral have been studying your formation for 3 years. They know your weaknesses. In 3 hours, they'll exploit them." "This isn't a trick, Admiral. This is mathematics," the simulation continued. Now it showed the Thoral command ship. Velkrin fighters swarmed around it like angry insects. Their weapons slowly cut through its defenses. At hour 7, the command ship exploded in a massive fireball. Warlord Thesix's scales turned almost white. "How can you know this?" Science Officer Jiwoo answered. "We've watched 247 battles between your fleets over 6 months. We know how you fight. We know what strategies you use. We know what mistakes you make. The simulation uses all that data to predict what will happen next." "Predict," Warlord Thesix repeated. "You're guessing." "No," Lieutenant Hana said from her station. "We're calculating." "There's a difference. A guess is random. A calculation is based on facts. The projection moved faster now, showing hour 12, hour 18, hour 24. More ships died. More names appeared. More crew counts showed up next to each destruction. The numbers were enormous. Thousands of deaths in the first day alone. On the Velkrin flagship, Sub-Commander Vex watched his own ship appear in the projection. At hour 16, it was hit by a Thoral missile. The simulation showed the missile penetrating the hull, exploding in the engine room. The ship's power failed. "It drifted dead in space, sir," Vex said to Admiral Kreth. "That's my ship. That's my crew. The humans are showing me exactly when I'm going to die." On the Thoral side, Commander Ralith watched her vessel get destroyed at hour 19. A Velkrin energy beam cut it in half. The simulation showed escape pods launching, but many were hit by debris. Most of her crew died. "This is psychological warfare," Warlord Thesix said. "You're trying to scare us." "Yes," Captain Day-One admitted. "We are, because you should be scared. This is real. This is what's going to happen. We're not your enemies. We're not fighting you, but death is fighting you. Physics is fighting you. Mathematics is fighting you. And those enemies don't care about honor or pride or strength. They just care about numbers." The simulation reached hour 36. By now, most of both fleets were gone. The space was full of debris and dead ships. The few vessels that remained were badly damaged, barely functional. The Carthan Nebula, the thing they were fighting over, was completely surrounded by wreckage. Nobody could mine it now. Nobody could use it. Both sides had lost everything. Messages began coming into the eternal horizon from ships in both fleets. Officer Yuna read them aloud. "Captain, we're receiving communications from multiple vessels. Crew members are asking their commanders to stop fighting. Some are begging. Some are demanding. The volume of messages is overwhelming." "Let them see the messages," Day-One said. "Make sure Admiral Kreth and Warlord Thesix can read what their people are saying." More data appeared on the screens of both flagships. Personal messages from crew members. A Velkrin engineer writing to the Admiral. "Sir, I have a family. Please don't let this simulation become real." A Thoral pilot writing to the Warlord. "We've fought with honor for 3 years. Let us live with honor now." The messages kept coming. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. Ordinary soldiers and crew members all saying the same thing. "Stop the war. Choose life. Choose the future." The holographic simulation finally reached hour 48. It showed the final moments of the battle. Only a handful of ships remained on each side. They fired their last weapons at each other. Then silence. Both fleets were destroyed. The battle was over. Nobody won. Everybody lost. The projection froze on that final image. Dead ships floating in darkness. The Carthan Nebula in the background, unreachable and useless. 73% casualties, Daewon said into the silence. On both sides. That's the price of continuing this war. That's what pride costs. That's what honor cost. Is it worth it? Admiral Kreth's face was dark with rage. You have no right to do this. No right to interfere. This is our war. Yes, it is, Daewon agreed. And we're not going to stop you. Look at our ship. He gestured to the tactical display showing the eternal horizon. Our weapons are still powered down. Our shields are at minimum. We're not threatening you. We're not attacking you. We're just showing you the truth. What you do with that truth is your choice. Then we choose to keep fighting. Admiral Kreth shouted. All ships target the human vessel. Destroy them. Then resume the attack on the Thoral fleet. Warning alarms sounded on the bridge of the eternal horizon. Lieutenant Hana's voice was tense. Captain, the Velcrin flagship is locking weapons on us. Multiple ships are following their lead. We have missile lock from at least 20 vessels. Hold position, Daewon said calmly. Do not raise shields. Do not power weapons. Sir, they're going to fire, Hana protested. I know. Thoral ships are also targeting us, Hana continued. Warlord Thesix has given the same order. We're about to be hit from both sides. Engineer Taesung ran to the captain's chair. Captain, we can raise shields. We can jump to hyperspace. We can escape. No, Daewon said firmly. We stay. We trust them. Trust them? Taesung looked at his captain like he was crazy. They're about to kill us. Are they? Daewon looked at the main screen. The holographic projection was still frozen on that final image of destruction. Every crew member in both fleets could still see it. Or are they about to make a choice? The weapons locks held. The eternal horizon sat perfectly still in space, vulnerable and exposed. Seconds passed. Every second felt like an hour. Then Subcommander Vex's voice came through. Admiral Kreth, I'm begging you. Don't do this. Don't kill these humans. Don't restart the war. Please, sir. I want to see my family again. Commander Ralith spoke too. Warlord Thesix, we've followed you for years. We've fought with honor. Let us end with honor. Let us choose life. More voices joined them. Junior officers from both fleets. Crew members, engineers, pilots. All of them speaking up, all of them asking for the same thing. Peace. Life. A future. The weapons locks continued. Admiral Kreth and Warlord Thesix had to make their choices. The war hung in the balance, and a single human ship waited to see if hope could triumph over hate. The silence stretched across the battlefield. Thousands of ships waited. Millions of crew members held their breath. The weapons locks on the eternal horizon remained active. Captain Daewon stood on his bridge, completely still, his face calm despite the danger. Lieutenant Hana watched her tactical screen. Captain, they're still locked on us. Any second now they could fire. I know, Daewon said quietly. We could die, sir. I know that too. Then why aren't we running? Daewon looked at her. Because running would prove we don't trust them. And if we don't trust them, why should they trust us? Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stand still and believe that people will make the right choice. More voices came through from both fleets. Junior officers continued speaking to their commanders. Sir, please reconsider. Commander, we don't have to do this. Leader, there's another way. The voices grew louder, more numerous, more desperate. On the Velcrin flagship, Admiral Kreth sat in his command chair. His forearms were trembling. He looked at the holographic projection still frozen in space. All those dead ships, all those lost lives. He looked at the messages from his crew. Good people, brave people, all asking him to stop. He thought about his own family back home. His children, his parents. What would they say if he died here, in a meaningless battle over a nebula that could be shared? What would they say if he killed thousands of his own people for nothing but pride? On the Thoral command ship, Warlord Thesix was thinking similar thoughts. His scales shifted through colors rapidly, showing his inner conflict. Red for anger, purple for confusion, gray for doubt. He had been a warrior his entire life. War was what he knew. War was what he understood. But this human captain had shown him something new. Math didn't care about warrior honor. Physics didn't respect strength. Death came regardless of how brave you were. And the humans knew this because they had learned it the hard way. Subcommander Vex spoke again. Admiral Kreth, I've served under you for 15 years. I've never questioned your orders. But I'm questioning this one, not because I doubt your courage, but because I believe in your wisdom. You're wise enough to know when to fight and when to stop. Please, sir, show us that wisdom now. Commander Ralith's voice followed. Warlord Thesix, you taught me that a true leader protects his people. Sometimes protection means fighting. Sometimes it means knowing when not to fight. Our people need protection now. From death, from waste, from a war that cannot be won. The seconds continued to pass. The weapon locks held firm. The eternal horizon remained motionless. Then finally Admiral Kreth spoke. His voice was heavy, tired, but clear. All Velcrin ships. Power down weapons. Stand down from combat status. A shockwave of surprise went through both fleets. Ships began shutting down their weapon systems. Slowly at first, then faster. The weapon locks on the eternal horizon disappeared one by one. Lieutenant Hana watched her screen in amazement. Captain, the Velcrin fleet is standing down. They're powering down weapons across the entire formation. Warlord Thesix watched this happen. He saw his enemy choosing peace. For a moment, his warrior pride told him to attack now while they were vulnerable. But then he looked at the holographic projection again. He looked at the messages from his crew. He looked at the truth the humans had shown him. His scales settled into a calm blue color. All Thoral ships. Power down weapons. Cease all hostile actions. The Thoral fleet followed the order. Weapon systems shut down. Combat readiness alerts stopped. For the first time in 3 years, both fleets were not actively fighting each other. On the bridge of the eternal horizon, the crew let out a collective breath. Officer Yuna's hands were shaking. Engineer Taesung sat down heavily in a chair. Science Officer Jiwoo had tears in her eyes. Only Captain Daewon remained calm. He had believed this would work. He had trusted in the fundamental goodness of people, even alien people he had never met before. Open a channel to both flagships, Daewon said. Let me speak to them. The screen showed both alien commanders. They looked exhausted. The weight of their decision was visible on their faces. Admiral Kreth, Warlord Thesix, Daewon said gently. Thank you. You've made the hardest choice a leader can make. You've chosen the future over the past. You've chosen life over death. Your people will remember this day not as the day you lost a war, but as the day you won something more important. Peace. Admiral Kreth spoke slowly. The humans were right about one thing. We were destroying each other for nothing. But what happens now? How do we move forward after 3 years of war? Together, Daewon said simply. You move forward together. Earth offers to mediate. We'll help you negotiate the sharing of the Carthan Nebula. We'll provide the technology to make mining more efficient. We'll assist with the details of cooperation. But the big decision, the important decision you've already made. You've decided to try. Why would Earth help us? Warlord Thesix asked. What do you gain from this? Daewon smiled. We gain the knowledge that we helped prevent a tragedy. We gain allies instead of enemies. And maybe, just maybe, we prove to ourselves that the mistakes we made in our past taught us something valuable. We humans believe that wisdom should be shared. Knowledge should be spread. Peace should be protected. That's what we gain. That's enough. Over the next hour, both fleets moved away from combat positions. Ships that had been enemies for years floated side by side, their weapons silent. Crew members from both sides sent messages to each other, tentative at first, then more friendly. The ice was breaking. Captain Daewon invited both commanders to send delegations to the eternal horizon for formal negotiations. They agreed. Within 2 days, both alien leaders came aboard the human ship personally. They met in a conference room, sitting across from each other for the first time without weapons or anger. The negotiations took a week. Earth helped them draft agreements for sharing the nebula. Mining rights were divided fairly. Technology was exchanged. Communication protocols were established. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Lieutenant Hana approached Captain Daewon in the corridor outside the conference room. Sir, I need to apologize. When we first arrived, I thought this plan was foolish. I thought we would be destroyed. I doubted you. You were being a good officer, Daewon said. Doubt is healthy. It makes us think carefully. But sometimes you have to act despite doubt. Sometimes you have to trust in something bigger than calculations and tactics. You have to trust in people. Even alien people we just met, especially them. Because if we can't trust strangers to do the right thing, then there's no hope for any of us. Engineer Taesung found the captain later that day. Sir, I need to tell you something. When we activated the holographic projection, It used almost all our power. If they had fired on us, we couldn't have raised shields. We couldn't have jumped to hyperspace. We would have been completely helpless. I know, Daewon said. You knew? And you did it anyway? Yes, because that was the point. We had to show them we trusted them. We had to make ourselves vulnerable. Only then would they believe we were sincere. Only then would they have the courage to be vulnerable too. Tae-sung shook his head in wonder. That's either very wise or very crazy. Maybe both, Daewon smiled. 2 weeks after the Eternal Horizon arrived, the negotiations were complete. Both empires signed agreements. Mining operations would begin in the nebula within a month, with both sides working together. The war was officially over. Officer Yuna received a final transmission as the human ship prepared to leave. Captain, message coming through. It's from both the Velcrin Dominion and the Thoral Collective. It's addressed to Earth's government. What does it say? Yuna read it, her voice filled with emotion. They're inviting Earth to join the Galactic Council. They say any species wise enough to stop a war without firing a shot deserves a voice in galactic affairs. The bridge crew cheered. Lieutenant Hana hugged Science Officer Jiwoo. Engineer Tae-sung laughed with joy. Earth had come to stop a war and earned a place among the stars. Captain Daewon stood at the main window of his ship, looking out at the Carthan Nebula. Ships from both former enemies were now working together, beginning the mining operations that would benefit them all. The battlefield had become a workplace. Enemies had become partners. What are you thinking, Captain? Hana asked, standing beside him. I'm thinking about what makes humans special, Daewon said. It's not our weapons. It's not our technology. It's not even our intelligence. It's our ability to learn from our mistakes. We've made terrible mistakes in our history. We've done horrible things to each other. But we learned. We grew. We changed. And now we can help others learn the same lessons without paying the same terrible price. Do you think other species can learn like we did? I know they can. We just proved it. The Velcrin and Thoral learned in 2 weeks what took us centuries. That's progress. That's hope. The Eternal Horizon powered up its hyperspace engines. The crew took their positions. Captain Daewon sat in his command chair one last time before leaving the sector. Set course for Earth, he ordered. It's time to go home and report our success. Course set, Captain, the navigator confirmed. Engage hyperspace drive. The human ship jumped into hyperspace, leaving the Carthan sector behind. 2 empires that had been enemies now worked in peace. A war that had lasted 3 years ended without the